I woke up today with one impossible question echoing in my mind. What if the person you're about to meet isn't just another relationship? What if they're the one person capable of changing every chapter of your life? Stay with me until the very end, because the final revelation connects everything you're about to hear in a way that almost nobody sees coming. This isn't a story about luck. It isn't a story about coincidence. It's a story about timing. The kind of timing that makes people look back years later and whisper. So that's why everything happened exactly the way it did. Right now, somewhere, someone is living an ordinary day. They're checking their phone. They're walking through a parking lot. They're standing in line for coffee. They're laughing with friends. They have absolutely no idea that their life is quietly moving toward the exact same destination as yours. And here's the unbelievable part. Neither of you would recognize the importance of that moment if it happened today. Because destiny almost never announces itself. It disguises itself as something ordinary. That's why so many people miss it. Think about every life-changing event you've ever experienced. Did it begin with fireworks? Or did it begin with something so small that you almost ignored it? A random message. A wrong turn. A delayed appointment. A canceled plan. An unexpected conversation. The biggest moments rarely look big at the beginning. They only become unforgettable when you look backward. Now let me tell you about Emma. Not because her story is unique, but because it mirrors something that happens to thousands of people without them realizing it. Emma believed love had already passed her by. After years of disappointment, she convinced herself that relationships simply weren't meant for her. Every new connection ended the same way. Excitement. Hope. Confusion. Silence. Heartbreak. Eventually she stopped expecting miracles. She told herself, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I'm done chasing. And strangely enough, that was exactly when everything changed. Not because she started searching harder, but because she finally stopped forcing every door to open. Weeks later, her train was delayed. Only 9 minutes. 9 insignificant minutes. She almost ordered another ride. She almost went home. She almost skipped that train entirely. But she didn't. And on that delayed train, someone sat across from her. Neither of them spoke. Not at first. No dramatic music. No magical lighting. No instant romance. Just two strangers. Completely unaware that everyone in their lives was about to be shocked by what happened next. Why? Because nobody expected them to become anything. Different personalities. Different careers. Different backgrounds. Different dreams. Their families questioned it. Their friends laughed. People whispered, they'll never last. But sometimes, the relationships that confuse everyone else are the ones that make perfect sense to two people who truly understand each other. Now here's the question I want you to think about. What if your next relationship looks nothing like the picture you've been imagining? What if you've been searching for someone with one specific appearance, one specific personality, one specific lifestyle, while life has been preparing someone completely different? Someone you would have ignored 6 months ago. Someone you would have said, "Not my type." Isn't it strange that many of the happiest couples admit exactly that? I never thought I'd fall for someone like them. Because the heart doesn't follow checklists. It follows peace. It follows trust. It follows consistency. And consistency is often mistaken for boredom by people who have only experienced chaos. Here's something fascinating. Most people believe attraction creates strong relationships. But in reality, respect keeps them alive. Admiration deepens them. Trust protects them. Friendship strengthens them. The butterflies eventually calm down. Character doesn't. Imagine meeting someone who notices the little things. Not because they're trying to impress you, but because paying attention is simply who they are. They remember what makes you smile. They remember the stories nobody else remembers. They notice when your energy changes before you say a word. That's different. That's rare. That's unforgettable. Now let me ask something even deeper. Have you ever noticed how every failed relationship secretly teaches one lesson? Sometimes it's boundaries. Sometimes it's communication. Sometimes it's self-worth. Sometimes it's patience. At the time, it feels meaningless, painful, unfair. But years later, you realize every disappointment quietly prepared you to recognize something healthier. Because without darkness, even the brightest light looks ordinary. Picture this. You're having a completely average Tuesday. Nothing special. Nothing exciting. You almost cancel your plans because you're tired. You almost stay home. But you don't. You leave anyway. And that ordinary decision becomes the reason your grandchildren exist someday. Doesn't that sound unbelievable? Yet every family tree begins with one meeting exactly like that. One conversation. One hello. One unexpected smile. History changes quietly. Never underestimate ordinary moments. Now here's where the story becomes even more interesting. People around you may not support your next relationship immediately. Not because they're evil. Not because they dislike you. Because people judge what they don't understand. They compare your future to your past. They expect patterns. But growth breaks patterns. That's why your next relationship could surprise everyone, including you. Imagine someone saying, "I never expected you two together." Then months later, "I've never seen you this happy." Those are completely different sentences, spoken by the same people. Time changes opinions. Peace changes perceptions. Results silence doubts. Here's another truth most people overlook. Your healthiest relationship may begin without dramatic sparks. It may feel comfortable, safe, easy. No games. No confusion. No disappearing. No endless guessing. And because it's unfamiliar, you might mistake stability for lack of excitement. Don't. Chaos isn't chemistry. Anxiety isn't love. Confusion isn't passion. Consistency is attractive. Reliability is attractive. Emotional safety is attractive. The strongest relationships rarely demand constant proof. They quietly prove themselves every single day. Now imagine your future self looking back. Would they thank you for chasing people who kept running away? Or for finally recognizing someone who chose you without hesitation? That answer matters. Because the next chapter of your life isn't written by who rejected you. It's written by who stays. Think about that for a moment. Someone you've never truly noticed could already be moving closer to your story. Maybe through work. Maybe through a friend. Maybe through travel. Maybe through one unexpected event you currently consider annoying. Sometimes delays are directions. Sometimes closed doors are protection. Sometimes unanswered prayers are hidden opportunities. Life has an incredible habit of making sense in reverse. Never while it's happening. Always afterward. And perhaps, years from now, you'll remember this exact moment. Not because these words predicted your future, but because they reminded you to keep your heart open instead of closing it forever. Because the greatest surprise isn't that someone extraordinary exists. It's that ordinary days have a way of introducing extraordinary people. Maybe your next relationship won't begin with perfection. Maybe it will begin with honesty. With laughter. With kindness. With patience. With a conversation neither of you expected to matter. And maybe, just maybe, everyone around you will be shocked. Not because your relationship is impossible, but because they'll witness a version of you they've never seen before. Calmer. Stronger. More confident. More loved. More yourself. And the biggest surprise of all won't be who that person is. It will be realizing that everything you once thought was the end was quietly leading you to a beginning you never could have imagined. The strange thing about life is this. The moment you stop trying to force every answer, life begins asking you better questions. Imagine waking up one morning and feeling that something is different. Nothing around you has changed. The same room. The same routine. The same responsibilities. But deep inside, there is a quiet feeling you can't explain. It's almost as if your heart already knows something your mind hasn't discovered yet. Most people ignore that feeling. They call it imagination, coincidence, wishful thinking. But sometimes, that quiet feeling is simply your intuition noticing invisible changes before your eyes can. Now picture someone else. Miles away. They've also started feeling restless. Not because anything is wrong. Because something is missing. They smile around friends. They succeed at work. They stay busy. Yet every night, before sleeping, they ask themselves the exact same question. Why does it still feel like someone important hasn't entered my life yet? Neither of you knows the other exists. Yet both stories are moving toward the same intersection. And here's the incredible part. Every decision you're making today is shortening that distance. You don't see it. You can't measure it. But it's happening. Think about roads. Two highways can begin hundreds of miles apart. Yet eventually, without realizing it, they merge into one. Lives work the same way. Now let me tell you another story. A man named Daniel had one rule. He never believed in destiny. He believed only in logic. Everything had an explanation. Everything had a reason. Love was chemistry. Relationships were statistics. Timing was random. That's what he believed. Until one evening, his phone battery died. A simple inconvenience. He walked into a small bookstore looking for a charger. The store didn't sell chargers. He almost walked out. But then, a woman accidentally knocked over a stack of books. Instinctively, he helped her pick them up. That conversation lasted 4 minutes. Exactly 4. Nothing extraordinary happened. No dramatic music. No instant declarations. Just two strangers discussing books they'd never read. He left thinking. Nice conversation. She left thinking. Interesting person. Neither imagined they had just met the person they would eventually marry. Years later, people asked, "So how did you two meet?" And both laughed. Because of a dead phone battery. Do you see how ridiculous destiny sometimes looks? A battery. A bookstore. 4 minutes. An entire future. That's why you should never underestimate small moments. Big endings often have tiny beginnings. Now here's something even more surprising. The person you're meant to meet may already know someone who knows you. Not directly, but through invisible connections. A coworker. A cousin. An old classmate. A mutual friend you've never met. Life is full of hidden bridges. We only notice them after crossing. Imagine if someone told you today, the person you'll love most is already living less than 20 miles away. Would you believe them? Probably not. Yet millions of couples unknowingly lived close to each other for years before finally meeting. Some attended the same concerts. The same shopping malls. The same airports. The same restaurants. Sometimes they were standing in the same photograph. Without ever speaking. That thought is astonishing. Your future can exist beside you. Long before you recognize it. Now ask yourself. How many opportunities have you ignored simply because they looked ordinary? How many conversations ended before they had the chance to become meaningful? How many people did you dismiss because they didn't immediately fit your expectations? Life isn't testing your ability to recognize perfection. It's testing your willingness to discover it. Here's another truth. Your next relationship won't just reveal who they are. It will reveal who you've become. Healthy love acts like a mirror. Not the kind that reflects your appearance. The kind that reflects your character. You'll notice you're more patient, more understanding, less defensive. You'll laugh more, sleep better, stress less. Not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because you're no longer carrying everything alone. Real partnership feels lighter, not heavier. Now imagine introducing this person to your family. Your friends exchange confused glances. Some whisper, "I never expected this." Others quietly wonder, what does she see in him? What does he see in her? They don't understand. Because they're comparing appearances. You're experiencing connection. There's a difference. The strongest relationships often confuse spectators. Because outsiders only see moments. The couple experiences thousands of unseen conversations. Thousands of private victories. Thousands of acts of kindness nobody applauds. That's where love actually grows. Not in public. In ordinary days. One cup of coffee made for someone who's tired. One reassuring hug after failure. One late-night conversation when the world feels overwhelming. One smile across the room. These tiny moments become a mountain of trust. Here's something remarkable. People often search for someone extraordinary. But extraordinary people usually look completely ordinary. They're not trying to impress everyone. They're simply trying to become better than they were yesterday. That quiet confidence. That humility. That consistency. Those qualities don't demand attention. They earn respect over time. Now imagine this. Your future partner hears someone criticizing you. You aren't there. Nobody would know if they stayed silent. Yet they defend your character without hesitation. Not because they have to. Because protecting your name feels natural to them. That kind of loyalty can't be faked. It's built from genuine respect. And respect is far more valuable than temporary excitement. The world celebrates dramatic love stories. But lasting love is surprisingly quiet. It's choosing each other on ordinary Mondays. It's remaining kind during difficult conversations. It's celebrating each other's victories without jealousy. It's becoming teammates instead of opponents. That's the relationship that shocks everyone. Not because it's loud, but because it's peaceful. Peace has become so rare. People mistake it for something impossible. Yet it's real. It's waiting. And perhaps closer than you think. The next chapter of your story won't begin with certainty. It will begin with one simple decision. To stay open to the unexpected. Because sometimes the greatest surprise isn't meeting someone new. It's realizing that the person who changes your life was never who you expected at all.